My name is Melinda Harris, and I'm the principal of Community Montessori School in Jackson, Tennessee. Community Montessori School is a school that's been in existence since 1992. It's a Montessori magnet school in Jackson, Tennessee. There are no zones for our school. You can live anywhere in Madison County and attend. There are registrations lottery process, so our children are chosen randomly through a random selection. We have K through 8 in our school, and we were the first school in our Jackson-Madison County school system with a K-8 program. We have 5 self-contained kindergarten classrooms. We have 9 lower elementary, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade classrooms. We have 4 upper elementary, 4th, 5th classrooms, and then we have 3 middle school classrooms. Within a Montessori classroom, one of the biggest differences with traditional education is that the curriculum is really independent and also individualized for every child. So there's very little large group instruction. Most of the lessons are taught to the children in small groups or even in one-on-one individual lessons. Children all have a work plan, which you and I might know as a day timer or a calendar. They have a list of things that they are to be accomplishing throughout the day, and so they are able to make those choices of the work that they are completing, and that really fosters independence and time management and responsibility for their own learning.
Some kids will excel in different types of learning environments. This works great for some students. This environment may not work great for some others. They may need a more structured environment. I know for me, coming from teaching in a traditional setting and then moving to a Montessori environment, I love this way. I get to interact more with the children on a personal level, and I get to enjoy their company a lot more, and I get to see them, they have that light bulb experience where they want to learn this and want to learn that.
Within a Montessori school, one of the main premises of the program is that it's multi-level classrooms. So within the lower elementary and upper elementary and middle school classrooms, the communities are 3 grade levels. And that is just a huge part of a Montessori school because it allows children to work within a community of learners of different ages. That allows children to have an expanded curriculum. So they have exposure to grade level work above and below if necessary. And they also learn to work together as peer tutors and peer mentors within that classroom community.
In a Montessori classroom, students learn a great deal. There are different areas that the room is divided into. There's math, language, science, cultural. They have an area that's called the Peace Place where they learn about peace. Everything in the classroom is sequenced in a Montessori classroom, so there's a beginning and an end. And usually in Montessori, students start with the large picture and move to the small and the details in their work. They learn through their peers. They have older peers, and the older peers give lessons and help the students. And I think that's real beneficial because a lot of times students will listen to their peers as opposed to their teacher.
As a first grader, they'll come in like reviewing numbers, and not just like 1s and 10s, but they'll actually do golden beads. They'll do 1s, 10s, 100s, and 1000s, and they'll see the quantity. They'll see it because they'll have 1 bead, and then they do this in kindergarten, and then they'll build on that with 1s, 10s, 100s, and 1000s. So they'll see those quantities, and then eventually all those quantities get taken out, and then they begin to use what we call the stamp game. And the stamp game is basically just like small stamps, but it says 1s, 10s, 100s, and 1000s. So they're moving to abstraction. And then stamp game, they do all operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then from there, second levels, second graders, they kind of do stay in that stamp game and what we call also small bead frame, which is the same things just in a different way. They're still operating with 1s, 10s, 100s, and 1000s. And they're also learning the algorithm, being able to do that without the material. And then as third levels, they get more into division. They still do some more multiplication, but they begin to transition into division with more stamp game, and what they all like to see is the test tube division, which is their favorite. Like, oh, I did the last thing for as a third level, and they're like, wait, there's more, you know. So that's kind of like, as far as mathematically goes, the steps from a first grader to a third grader, or what I like to say, first level to a third level, because in the room you can have a first grader be a third level.
Students in 4th and 5th grade are learning to write extended responses. They are learning to express themselves verbally and in writing. They are learning to not just read, but really reading to learn. They are learning to take complex passages and disseminate information from them.
They certainly grow in their independence. They, as far as their willingness to kind of like wait and slow down, they kind of want to, hey, I can do this. I don't really need to wait for you. I can do this. And so that's where, which as an adult, you really need to be able to take that initiative, especially in any job force. You have to be able to take that initiative to grow as an adult, or in wherever you're at and whatever you're learning.
Another aspect of Montessori education is the fact that we really emphasize and teach about peace education. Our children are taught conflict resolution from a very young age, beginning in kindergarten. We actually teach them the verbiage to use when they have a conflict with a student, and rather than an adult intervening or making the decisions of how to solve the problem, we really put that back on the children and allow them to make those decisions and learn how to resolve conflict with their peers in a peaceful and respectful way.
What I like most about teaching at this school is that it's a peaceful environment. Students are taught to resolve conflict peacefully, work through things in a peaceful way. Teachers model that peace and show the students how they can resolve things in a kinder way. I enjoy the family atmosphere and the involvement of the parents and how we're all one community.
We are very blessed to have a middle school program here. Like I said, that we were one of the first schools in the Madison County school system to have a K-8 program, and that really was started with the demand of our parents. Our children came here, and after 5th grade, our parents really wanted them to stay, and we added a 6th grade. And then after a couple of years, we went before the school board and were able to add 7th and 8th grade. Our children work on that work plan in kindergarten and lower elementary and upper elementary with their weekly work plan. And when they go into our middle school program, they're working on a 7-week study guide. So these children are very independent. They've learned how to manage their time. They're preparing themselves for high school and college, but really for real life, of how to make good choices every day with their work, how to use their time wisely. But they really work in a community of learners, and they work with each other. They learn how to support each other in that work.
So our middle schoolers have a somewhat normal, curriculum or subjects that other middle schoolers would face, like math, science, language arts, and social studies. But we attempt in our program as a Montessori program to, in a lot of ways, sort of interconnect a lot of those subjects together under a common theme. So all of our cycles that we have, which are about 7 weeks long, all have topics or themes that sort of govern our thoughts within a particular subject. And so our students sort of are always getting those themes coming at them, whether they're in math or in science. And so they're working on typical things teenagers would work on in state standards, but it's with this idea that everything is sort of woven together to sort of help them to connect math with science. And probably the biggest addition that may be different that people, if they came into in our program, they would see is we have also an added subject that we call personal world. So our students get time every day for about 30 minutes to sit and journal and reflect, and there's actually a study guide that goes with that as well. And it just asks them questions about life, questions about themselves, questions about their goals in life, and depending on the year, they have a book that kind of leads them through that as well and asks them, questions to reflect on.
I think in particular, Montessori middle school programs continue to focus on the whole child and following the child at their pace. But I think in addition to that a Montessori middle school program assists young people in becoming much more independent. It gives them a voice and a level of autonomy that traditional middle school never can and never will. And I think most importantly, we really build character, and we teach a curriculum that's hidden. And while other schools may teach things like character education, I truly believe that we develop character.
I feel like that foundation that's laid for the independence that our kids are being taught in kindergarten, first, second, third, all the way up, shows itself in amazing and fun ways in the middle school, because we give them study guides which last about 7 weeks. It's like a college syllabus, and so we're able to give students those study guides, and for them to in some ways navigate their weeks and plan out their own schedule because of that independence that's been laid by all the teachers that come, in our students' lives as they've moved their way up through all the grade levels. So.
And I think our students, I'm asked all the time about how do students transition from Montessori education into traditional education, especially if they've been here K through 8. But what I hear formally and informally when our students leave here, we're very blessed to have families and siblings, and our students come back and visit. But one of the things that I hear is that not only are they academically prepared for the next step, but they really are independent learners. They are responsible for their own learning. They have a grasp of time management and prioritizing their work and knowing how to do that. And I think there are many students that go into high school and college with the academic intellectual abilities, but they may not have that sense of ownership, and they may not have that sense of how to manage their time and know when projects are due and papers are due, and that in itself can cause students to not be successful. So I think that the Montessori approach puts the learning back on the student, and they are responsible. They are taught from a very young age that the learning is theirs, and that in itself will guide them to be successful for the next step.